Hello everyone, and welcome to the Battle of the Backs, Part 2. This is actually a fan-requested comparison. I am Trent. Next Mike, Jean-Pierre Fux versus Mike Francois. Year you want. I believe what he means is the next Mike Francois match should be this one. And I'm here to tell you this is a dandy. And this is a very fitting battle of the backs, so to speak. Look at these two backs. Much more muscle, much more pronunciation on those traps and each and every muscle on Jean-Pierre Fux. But if you look at Mike Francois, he has some muscle too and much more of an aesthetic flow. And of course, we're not giving any points on this particular pose or this front relaxed position because really, you got to really dominate in both of them to get a whole point. And neither guy is really doing that. This is reminiscent of the rear relaxed. Much more muscle separation, much more muscle period on Jean-Pierre Fux. But Mike Francois with that just aesthetic flow. He has a very statuesque physique. So I'm here to tell you, ring-a-ding-ding, this is going to be a good little dandy of a matchup and an awesome comparison as well. I decided to go with the 1995 Mr. Olympia version of Mike Francois, and this picture here is of the 1996 Jean-Pierre Fux, but for the most part I'm using the 97 version. I was unable to find a front double bicep pose of the 97. I believe it was a little bit more conditioned that year, his version. Mike Francois, he does not have the ab separation, and of course the leg size is going to Jean-Pierre Fux. But other than that, this one is a Mike Francois shot, no doubt. The tiny waist, V-taper, lats, and of course the period on this one, the explanation point I should say, are those world-class Arnold Schwarzenegger-like arms on Mike Francois, some of the best in the business. So this is a dandy matchup. Mike is on the board. The front lat spread, however, I am leaning towards Jean Badin, Pierre Fux, as I like to call him sometimes. Instead of Jean-Pierre, I call him Jean Badin. But having said that, both of these gentlemen are very, very good in this pose. This is usually a winning pose for both gentlemen. Oh, like I said, I am leaning towards Jean Badin, but look at Mike Francois. Dorian-esque, both men, very filled out in the lat region. Jean Badin just a little bit more muscular in the legs, and just in general, look at the chest. Just a little bit bigger, but less aesthetic, like I said, but does manage to fetch a point in the front lat spread. In the rear lat spread, however, I may lean towards Jean Bidon in this one, and that is very hard to believe. Cover up Jean Badin's picture and look at the rear lat spread of Mike Francois, and it is hard to believe that he would lose to anybody. Look at the traps go all the way down to the lower lat insertions. But then you look at that big Jean Bidon, Jean Badin. Look at those traps are mountainous. This perhaps overshadowed Dorian Yates that year in the rear lat spread in 97. Maybe not as crisp, maybe not as hard in condition, but my soul, look at the size of Jean Bidon Pierre. So he gets a point. Not to mention the glutes, the hamstrings look slightly tighter as well. Here in the rear double bicep pose, of course, those guns of Francois do make this a little bit closer of a matchup. His aesthetics are far greater than Jean Badin's, for sure. There's no question in my mind. He's much more of an aesthetic creature. But look at how thick the lower lats are in Jean Badin's part. This is a little bit of a blurry picture of Jean Badin. I'm showing this one here. This is of the 96. And yes, look at those hamstrings. I'm drawn to those. And maybe he is not quite as hard and as crisp as Francois. And of course, this is the 96, like I said. He was a little bit harder in 97, I think. But probably not quite as crisp as Francois. But look at that size. It's hard to ignore. Definitely a close one here in the rear double bicep pose. Not a blowout by any means. for Jean Bedin. Not like that rear lat spread. And the next pose for Mike Francois and Jean Bedin. A real sing-song quality for this pair. Doobie 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 underwear. I think Mike Francois is just too aesthetic for big Jean Bedin in this one. Jean Bedin, he has all the muscle, like all the poses. He just seems to be pieced together by perhaps an unintelligent person or a child. You see what I mean? It's not very artistic like Francois. Like I said, though, he has all the parts there, and I could see some people maybe giving this one to Jean Bedin. A very sing-song quality about this pair. Now, in this pose, the side tricep, another one, Jean Bedin. Look at his belly there. It looks like it's kind of going, and the tongue is the belly button. You know what I mean? That great big belly button. It looks like it's Mike Francois sucking his gut in. Very nice. I mean, not the best side tricep. Kind of a strange way to hit it. More of a Paul Dillette style. But he gets a point nonetheless. So Mike Francois slips in both of these side poses in the ab and thigh shot. And keep in mind, this is a tie game. There's only one pose after this one. I am leaning toward Jean Bedin, surprisingly. Yes, his waistline is slightly more distended, but he has the ab separation all day and nightly, or whatever Louis Marco says. He does it better than me. But I will say, Mike Francois, in the upper body, I should say, the overall flow is a little bit nicer, a little bit more pleasing. But those legs of Jean Bedin are pretty much closing the door. The conditioning seems better. I never liked Mike Francois' ab and thigh pose. A little bit of a weak shot for his repertoire of poses, I think. So, this is an awesome matchup down to the final pose. And lo and behold, it is a tight little decision. That hard graininess, the hard grainy nature of Mike Francois. Look at those pecs, those arms. It seems to be a little bit better in the conditioning. But then you look at the muscle separation in Jean Bedin, big Jean Bedin. Look at those pecs. You see what I mean? Hard graininess versus muscle separation. Kind of like the Branch Warren versus Ronnie Coleman deal, or something along them lines, where it is really hard to pick a winner. I like, of course, the size. Jean Bedin. He's just so big, so huge. And throw the legs in there a little bit more separated than Mike's. I've noticed this whole competition. So it is a very close decision, but I believe this battle of the backs is going the way of big Jean Bedin, Pierre Fux, and both gentlemen representing their back developments very well in this little comparison. Of course, I'm not using this as a judging tool, but this is, of course, the battle of the back, so it's fitting that we end on a little note like this. And speaking of note, we have Lou Ferrigno, Serge Nobret, Schwarzenegger made them pay, Mike Katz, Berto Fox, Waller was a t-shirt thief, Franco, Gyno, Lee Haney had it too, then came Dorian, nothing like that was seen again. Coleman came, it changed again, lightweight baby, he's the man. Along came Philip Heath, Sean Roden came beneath, Brandon Curry took it all, now the song is in your skull.